So here is the manual for the Dillon press. If we go back here at page 14, it says, and I quote, use 30 weight motor oil on the main shaft and bearing grease on the pivot pins. Do not spray penetrating lube such as WD-40, break free, and run the risk of contaminating primers. It does say that. Okay. Grease on the pivot pins and motor oil on the main shaft. Well, that's relatively easy. Here's the main shaft. That puppy comes up. You can get some oil on it. Oil it as it goes up and down. Grease the main shafts. There it is, it say grease here. Well, the 505 or the 550C now have grease fittings on this bearing, bushing, whatever you want to call it. But this doesn't have that. What you find is there are lubrication points. What we need to do, well, first of all, get the strap out of the way, put that around my neck. You got these little holes. There's a hole, there's a hole. There's a hole up there. There's a hole back here, which barely can see. We get rid of this thing. And there's a couple of holes on top. But I tried putting oil in it, but that you're never sure what's going on there. So my suggestion is you go get a drill. And I found a number 45 is about the right size. You go in these little holes and twist them, get all the garbage out of there. You'll find that there is garbage in there from this thing just sitting there. If you put oil in there and it got dusty, that causes a mess. Now let me get my drill out. See, that drill is totally clogged from twisting in there. So if you clean these out, each one of them, you should be very close to the bearing. Actually, I keep saying bearing, it's really sort of a bushing. It's a bearing surface, but it's a bushing. It's not a ball bearing. And that gets garbage out of there. Now you go to Amazon. There's no free lunch in this world. You go to Amazon and you buy a little grease can. Now, there's a couple of videos on how to fill this up with grease, so I'm not going to go through it. It's not very complicated. But what this grease gun does is probably, let me do it on this. See, it starts out a little tiny squiggle of grease. So then you can go to your press, give it a push there, push there, push there. Remember, this is after you cleaned out the holes. Now you're forcing grease all the way into the bearing surface. Oops, made a little mess on that one. We can come back with a towel and clean it up. Now I took the press apart, being a masochist, and I put a couple of holes up here that weren't there before. So now I can grease these pivot pins. So basically what I'm getting at, there is a way to lubricate this thing. The manual really doesn't show you how to do it. There is a YouTube video where they grease the bearings, and it is not fun. And when you start getting these off, knocking the pin out, getting back there, it's just clean out the holes. Get the little grease gun on Amazon. They're not that much. I think they're under $12, $13. And I know there's a couple of guys on YouTube that show how to fill those things. It's basically you unscrew this cap and you keep forcing grease in it, tap it on the bottom, hit it on the bottom so all the grease falls down. Then you fill the top up with grease, screw it together. And now you got a way of getting in there and putting oil or grease anywhere you want. I bought a simple Walmart bearing type grease. But it's something that's not in the instruction manual. I don't know how old this press is, how much I put through it. But I don't know if you could really wear it out anyway. But if you feel like you feel better with some lubrication there, just get a small drill, clean out the hole. And you really don't want to drill in. You don't want to drill in and use a power drill, because you could damage the surface of the bushing. So that's my explanation, and I hope it gives some of you some advice on if you want to oil this thing or lubricate it. I used to squirt oil in there, but I was never really sure. This little gun, it's got this really, really fine tip, and it goes right in the hole. So when you push on it, it's trying to force it all the way down as far as it can go. Happy reloading. The Dillon presses are probably some of the best ones around. For shotgun, there's nothing better than a mech. Take care.